Like, look at this amazing career I had. Like, I should be grateful. And I was. And also, I viewed it as this painful place for so long. I just think there's so many people out there that feel like they should like something that they've moved on from.
Most people are going through some sort of transition and
Yes.
some sort of new identity.
The world is all learning how we can put the walls down to really feel like you deserve love and to feel loved. And you don't have to earn it. You don't have to win something to get it. You can just be loved.
I did therapy. I did a lot of real soul searching, and I was different. There was an identity shift.
I was lost without that structure and those highs and the validation of competing and everybody being so proud of you. And then you go from that to nothing. No one can prepare you for that.
Mm-hmm. Now I want to know the hard thing you're doing right now that no one will know up until now.
Ooh.
Hey, it's Adam, and you're listening to The Adam Cobb Show. Weekly content devoted to all things fitness, finding your center, and fumbling through fatherhood. Thank you for taking the time to tune in. We hope this is a space that you come to, that you can feel connected. We're better together. Please subscribe and follow all of our social channels so you don't miss a thing. Let's listen to today's episode. Sometimes we've broken out into full spontaneous singing.
That's great.
So
I am, my brain works all over. So
yeah.
Wherever we go, I'll go.
Cool. I'd like to do two sort of intros. I often like to, when I introduce someone, I like to sort of say sort of what they do, because that's sort of the thing that a lot of people want to know right off the bat. I care almost zero about that. Almost zero.
Same.
I could tell. I will say that in right now, I'll do the same thing. But in person, when I'm introducing in groups, I always say, oh yeah, this person, for example, here, Caroline Burckle is, has represented us, USA, as a swimmer and a medalist, bronze medalist, right? Mm-hmm. Amazing. Who can say that? Very few. And an artist, full-on artist that's exploring that part of self now. So maybe those are like the things. And a mindset coach, would you say? Right? So those are professional kind of ads.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and people are like, ooh, get so excited. And then I'm like, oh, and guess what? Like, she'll just break out into a spontaneous dance. She is silly. She's witty. Even in this like 30 minutes of just sort of like bouncing some thoughts, there's already been like, little hits, little like kind of athletic, like, what'd you say? Ooh, little like digs and fun laughters. And I love that stuff. But I also know is you're thoughtful. I also know whatever you do, you're all in. And I love that. And who introduced us, T-Mac. Shout out to T-Mac. T-Mac, love you. T-Mac's like, yeah, she's all in, right? And I love that about you. So I do want to talk a little bit about that. And I also know that being grounded where you are matters to you. Mm-hmm. I know that. Mm-hmm. And I want to know more. So similar to, I gave this TED Talk once. I said, don't be a default. Live by design, not by default. Mm-hmm. And it was like, don't be a default. That's a nasty word. Don't be it. Live by design.
Yeah.
And I know that that's important to you. And even in the introduction, like my goal today for us is for me and the audience to get to know who you are, right? Not about what you do, but know who you are. So it's like almost like cracking open that sternum and getting to like, what's that heart? What's that soul about? Right. So that would be the goal.
Yeah.
Thank you for saying yes.
I'm in the right place for that then, because I don't like talking about what I do.
Oh, we already did it.
It's cool and all, but it just takes 5 seconds. And actually I did the Hoffman process like 2 months. No, wait, whoa, hold on. 6 months ago now. It feels like 2 months ago. And you're not allowed to say what you do. And that's the only thing I'll say about it, because I'm not going to give anything else away. But you're not allowed to say what you do. And so the whole time you go through the entire week long without your cell phone. Praise, was amazing. And you have no idea who anyone is, unless you maybe recognize somebody or something, but I didn't. So I didn't know anybody. And it was a game changer, because you really get to know who the person is the entire time. And so, yeah, anyway, that's just my thought on that.
I mean,
kick it off.
How long ago? Kick it off strong. Let's just go there. How long ago was that?
That was in September, October. And I remember, because when I retired from swimming, I remember being so upset when people just referred to me as an Olympian, or, oh, this is my friend, the Olympian, or something. And I would just get so, I don't know, it just made me uncomfortable. And I've dug into that. There's parts of it where I was like, oh, maybe I wasn't owning it properly, right? I wasn't really owning it and staying excited about my accomplishments and my achievements. But there was also a huge part of me that just wanted to be seen for me. And even if I didn't even know who that was, I wanted to be seen for me. I wanted people to see me and not just what I did. And it dawned on me when I was there at that retreat that I was like, oh my gosh, this has been something I've been craving my entire life. And even those, your select friends and your few people, like they see you, they see who you are, but I hadn't felt that like that deeply in so long, just from the collective of humanity, of people that I don't know.
When you said, like, you referred to the past a little bit there, when people would mention, this is my friend, Caroline, and not Caroline, but Caroline.
Yeah.
Distinction there.
Yeah.
The swimmer. When that period was, whenever that was, what would that have been filled in with instead? What would you have wanted that to be filled in?
What would I have wanted? I think creative.
This is my friend Caroline, the creative.
Yeah, creative.
Yeah.
Like she's a connector. She's personable. She's really supportive. Or, qualities about you as a friend or you as a person that would matter to that person. And of course that's weird, right? You're not going to be at like a party or something and be like, it's easier to grab like, oh, you're the Olympian. This is the Olympian. It's easier to grab that than to be like, this is my very supportive, empathetic friend, Caroline. That's weird.
Well, I'm into getting weird. So next time I introduce you, I want to do something like that. So that was then. What about now? What would that, hey, this is my friend Caroline, blank.
Oh gosh. See, that's hard. Isn't that hard how I crave it, but I don't even know what I would say.
Let's do it now.
We're doing it now.
Right
okay.
now.
I would say creative, expansive mind, someone that's not willing to, like she wants to go all in at whatever she's going to do and make it great.
Guys, this is my friend Caroline who wants, this is my friend Caroline, the creative, who goes all in, who has an expansive mind. You want to know her. Is that
good? That was pretty good.
Okay. Did I miss anything?
No, but I mean, maybe, but I don't know. But I don't know yet because I'm not fully I'm not there yet either. I'm there, but I'm still evolving in this. And I think it's taken me until now to see that experience of my life as really important and something that was a platform for me. So now I'm evolving into what that person is, who that person is.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
September, October, November, Hoffman. What was maybe the one what was a takeaway that you were like, okay, that was a big distinction and/or I'm going to integrate into my life moving forward?
That is a very hard question from that experience, but I would say compassion. Two things. You asked for one. I would say compassion for self and others. And then I would say the second thing that really made a huge difference for me was actually on a somatic level, because you do a lot of releasing there and I didn't realize how much I was holding. So I have felt so much more grounded since that experience. And I didn't think that I would necessarily. I mean, I just thought, okay, I'm going to take away some things and really start to work through some stuff that has been holding me back in life. But from a physiological level, like somatically, I felt like I was just, I don't know. It's hard to even explain. I didn't feel so hypervigilant when I got back. And I thought that would wear off, and it really hasn't. And maybe there's a time it wears off. I don't know, but there's days it does, there's days I don't feel that way. I'm like scanning my environment still, but I think for the most part, that's what I took away from that experience. It really changed me in that way.
And now, like 6 months later, how's that self kind of compassion doing?
And friends, by the way, you make a lot of really good friends.
Yeah.
But how's the self-compassion doing?
That's hard.
It's really hard.
Yeah.
I think it's something that I feel like I incorporate daily in micro moments, but I think if I had to grade myself, how often am I compassionate with myself? How many days, out of the week or how many hours out of the day, I'd probably give me a 50% across the board. Because I think it's part of that evolution I was just talking to you about. It's like I'm getting there. I'm getting to that piece of me where I can really feel that, but I'm not all of the way there yet. I think maybe that's the athlete, the competitor in you, where it's always like you can do more. Oh, sack up, buttercup, suck it up. Like what, that whole thing where it's like, no, you have nothing to feel sorry for. You don't need to pat yourself on the shoulder and tell yourself everything's fine, right? So I've got that 50% that still likes to fight the compassion. Like, no, you don't deserve that. And I'm aware of these things happening. Like it's like gremlin on one shoulder, angel devil thing. Like they're just fighting back and forth. So I'm aware of it now, which I don't think I had as much awareness of that before.
Isn't that interesting? It's always when that, like something like a Hoffman process elevates that awareness.
Well, and listen, I mean, I've been in therapy since I was a teenager.
Amen.
So yeah. So, and all through college and then afterward. And then, I started in COVID, I started doing more of the somatic healing work, which is internal family systems. Why I could not get that out. And it wasn't until then that I started doing that work in 2020, where it was the deeper internal family systems work on and understanding why my body is reacting the way it is in certain situations, that I could really see how it was impacting my life. So I had been on this journey for a while. And so when I got there in September, October, it was more of okay, I have used these tools, but I am still stuck and still unwilling to, and my biggest thing was like unwilling to really allow myself to be fully loved. I will find everything to make it harder. Like I will search for difficulty just so that I can sabotage. It's sabotaged already.
And that is that athletic drive mindset that I need
1,000%.
Right?
And it's like, feels so good to say this out loud because it's like, you're kind of in that bubble of the Hoffman world and you don't really talk to anyone else about it except for like your close friends and then your Hoffman friends. And it's like, yeah, no, everyone there, it's a shared humanity. You're all there because you have a block up to receive love. And it's like everyone goes through it. Like we're not alone or immune to it. And just because you work through it or heal it also doesn't mean that you're perfect either, right? But it's a shared humanity piece where you're like, oh God, I'm not the only one. We're all in this together. Like the world is all learning how we can put the walls down to really feel like you deserve love and to feel loved and you don't have to earn it. You don't have to win something to get it. You don't have to be the best to receive it or please everybody to make them love you. You can just be loved. And that was a novel idea for me. I was like, oh, my brain was blowing up. I was like, wait, what? I don't have to earn this? This is crazy. This is crazy.
Oh man. Personally, I just worked through, I have, not only do I have a daughter, but we had twin boys in August. So we had 3 kids under 3. It's crazy. I'm an only child. I've had lots of solitude in my life. With 3 kids, I've had no solitude. I found myself, the walls of anger were coming up and frustration. And so I had to work pretty deeply to like the 7-year-old self and IFS and all that stuff. I had to do some really deep work to get clear as to like, okay, when my walls of anger are going up, what do I do?
Hey, cool. That's cool.
And then I was like, then the awareness of, I retreat to go regulate, to go and then the therapist was like, what if you went towards the things that that you love, meaning like go towards your life partner, go towards your children, go towards them and see what happens. See if your edges soften. So I just recently have been doing major work on getting through the walls of anger, because walls of anger are just so destructive. And then you get to this place of sadness. And then after you get through the place of sadness, so it's like 1, 2, 3, the place of sadness, then it's presence and connection.
Mm-hmm.
So there are times where I'm like just lost in the sadness, and that's tough. But then getting to like presence and like just real connection is like on the other side. So that's one of the personal things that I've been kind of working through.
That's cool though, that you're learning through your children, you know?
Yeah.
And I feel like anger is a great teacher. It's been my greatest teacher. I didn't know I was allowed to be angry until 4 years ago. And I didn't like the way I felt when I was angry. I was like, what is this? Like, this is so uncomfortable, but it's a great teacher. And, you know, it swirls. Like you said, you go like the anger, sadness, presence. You may go back to the sadness. You may go back to the anger.
Sure.
It's not a linear path. You're not just going to wake up one day and be like, okay, checked that box. Done with the anger.
That's
like,
right. Yeah, that's right.
Checked the sadness box. Great. Now I never have those two emotions again. Like, that's not the way it works, you know?
Exactly.
So it's just, again, having compassion for yourself, I guess. But I have found anger to be a great teacher. I don't know if you've had that experience.
It's like a yes and no.
Yeah.
I want to live there for a second, but I also want to, like, when those walls of like have to prove to get to the walls of like compassion, the walls of like not being compassionate to yourself, when they do come up, is there any ways in which right now you're learning how to like get over the wall or through the wall? Like the walls of like that I don't want to give myself compassion? Yeah, when you don't. Yeah. I just know that somebody's listening, watching, they're gonna take a lot from this moment, because they're like, oh, you know, thanks for talking about that, because I don't have a lot of compassion for myself or others or whatever it may be. I think compassion can be interesting because, and I don't know if you've ever read Radical Compassion. Have you read that book? No. It's really good. I suggest it. It's really good. But something that they talk about, and there's another book that's like in the series called Radical Acceptance. And so when I think of compassion, I also think of acceptance. And a lot of times, if I can accept where I'm at or accept where someone else is at without trying to change that and try and force that, to force it to change, then my chances of kind of getting past whatever challenge that I'm facing are much higher. If I resist accepting something, then I'm never going to get to compassion. Like I don't know if this makes sense, but I don't really think that I learned this again until about 5-6 years ago. That, you know, just that you can accept that something's hard, or you can accept that someone is the way they are, or that you're in a sad place. You know, there's been times that I would resist it so deeply instead of just allowing myself to be where I am, because then you can move through it. In swimming, there's like there's this whole I don't even know what you call it, a school of thought, I guess, or a practice that we have where if you're trying too hard, you're swimming slower. Yeah, it makes sense. You know, and it's kind of the same with everything. I think, but like basketball, when guys are like, let the game come to you, and if they're not, they're trying too hard. The ball's going out of bounds. They're fouling people. It's just, similar. Yeah. And there were so many times when it's like, you're just trying so hard that you're not getting any better, instead of just allowing, like, just accept, okay, I'm not where I want to be right now. Let it go for a second. You're not giving up. There's a distinction here. You're not giving up. When you just can let go and allow things to unfold, that's trust. And trust is very different, right? Than, okay, I'm going to give up and just throw in the towel and quit. That's not trust, right? I mean, sure, if you're pursuing something else and you want to trust that process, but that's where I see acceptance and compassion playing a role together. Good. You said the word trust, you said anger. I want to dive into those. But
I told you my brain goes in
it's
1,000
amazing,
different directions.
But I want to go somewhere else. Which
You're going to have to cut this in the right order.
I just want to name something. We walked into the studio where we're recording. Number one, I said, hey, Caroline, do you want Arnold Palmer?
He did.
Or do you want berry electrolytes? And you
I said, I'll take, what'd I say? Well, I could use some electrolytes. Yeah. I'll take berry electrolytes, thinking that he meant Arnold Palmer, like the drink. Oh and I'm like, God. I'm good. I'll take the electrolytes.
And I was like, hold on a second. Let me just like rephrase. Do you want Arnold Palmer electrolytes or berry electrolytes? And then part of me was like, God, but I want to be so cool as to be like, yeah, I'm offering Arnold Palmer, or maybe your choice of wine, whatever you want. Yeah.
There's a full bar over there. Actually, I did see it.
Yeah, right.
It's ready.
Do you like the Arnold Palmer?
It's great.
Non-sponsored highlight electrolytes.
It's very clean and nice. Crisp. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I have a great mug as well. It says "Be a goldfish," which is very fitting.
Why is it fitting? Just keep swimming. Oh yeah. Shout out Ted Lasso. And and when we walked in, you were like, oh, I love it. Look at the lighting.
Yeah.
Because there's been, you said a lot of podcasts are dark-ish.
Yeah.
And I know that as well. And I actually like that kind of moody thing. And I've even, had some ideas of like, how can you make this more moody? And you said the bright lighting, you can't really think that well when you're in the darker setting.
Yeah. I struggle in really dark rooms having a conversation with like the fake lighting with no natural light. Natural light feels natural to me. And believe it or not. It helps me feel clear, more expansive.
Wow.
I think that I just have an easier time collecting my thoughts.
Yeah.
Or just staying in flow versus like a dark room is a bit intimidating sometimes.
I never heard that.
I've been very vocal about this to people.
Yeah.
I'm like, we should start a whole campaign called Put Podcasts in Light Rooms. I'm serious.
Oh, it makes me so happy that we're in a light room right now. Really?
He should span the camera to this amazing light behind us.
Yeah, maybe Gene can do something like that.
Can you do a 360? Yeah.
We do that later. We could just throw a little.
He's a dancer. He's going to dance for us behind.
Oh my God. I can't
He's ready.
I'm so excited for that.
Here he comes.
And the background, right? It's beautiful. We're looking out at like a garden and
tons of greenery. I love plants. So basically everybody should come here and do a podcast.
Yeah.
With you.
That's right. Oh, well, thank you very much.
Or me.
Or you.
Just kidding. I don't have a podcast.
Or both of us, whatever.
Or you're in the middle with the plants and we'll interview you.
Okay. On your, what's your like at Instagram? What is it?
At Caro Burckle. My art one?
Caro, just, no, the Caro Burckle.
Caro Burckle.
Caro
Burckle.
Got it. On your Instagram, you had this calling all artists video that I laughed my ass off on. It was you and a girlfriend.
It was my best friend, Katie.
And I was so curious to know, like, one, does that sort of playful, basically for people that probably going to go check it out right now, but I mean, it's your friend kind of like sharing about like the fact that you guys are going to do some art. You're going to do a art exposition or something.
Yeah, we had an art show in February. So yeah.
Okay, so you had an art show, and then you're coming in sort of like and then we're gonna do that, and it was like the second kind of coming off the shoulder of like someone, and I was laughing so hard, and I thought to myself, does your kind of playfulness and silliness run through everything you do, and like where'd that come from?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
You can ask everyone I work with or have worked with. I'm actually very shy, believe it or not, like very shy, but it depends on the setting. When I'm comfortable with people and I'm a feeler. So energetically, I feel people's energy. And if I feel really good in their presence, I can be silly. Ooh. If I don't, I will Irish dip pretty fast. From whatever situation it is, whether it's like a party or so, I don't know. I think that I I've always felt weird for that, I think. Maybe growing up, I just sort of always picked up on people's energies, and I always felt very sensitive to that. And I can feel what people are feeling too. So anyway, that's a whole nother topic. But the silliness, yes, it travels through most of my life and all of my friendships. Like I don't have a single friendship that we're not silly with each other.
Just laughing and silly and
even like my serious friends, I can get them to be silly eventually.
And how does that play? How did that play? I'm less interested in talking
Should
about
I pull up my Facebook account from college?
for sure.
We have so many silly videos, it's like dressing up but it helped us perform.
Yeah. That was sort of what I was
where
thinking.
you're going.
Of like,
I was reading your mind.
Well, it's a little bit like I'm less interested in the past, more interested in like right now and moving forward. But like I think it'd be a big miss to go like, how did silliness and playfulness kind of like find a way in to your swimming, which had to have a lot of structure and sort of rigidity and discipline to it. And you don't think of often that having like lots of silly in there. So I'm curious if they had somewhat of a shared experience.
I am shocked you think swimming is rigid.
Oh, great. Tell me.
I'm kidding. It's very, very intense. Swimming is like you're staring at the black line at the bottom of the pool for 8+ hours a day and you don't talk to anyone. And so you're in your own thoughts, in your own head. It's arguably, to me, one of the harder sports in that regard because we're not made to be in the water. Like we are supposed to be on land. Like humans are land creatures. And then you put us in water and you're in a medium where you cannot hear anything other than the water or, whatever. So you have a lot of time in between your ears. So that also lends to a lot of swimmers are pretty silly because you have this playful side that doesn't really get to come out expressively other than just what you're doing in on the pool, back, forth, back, forth, back. I mean, it's so linear and mundane over and over again. So I think you do develop a bit of like a silly vibe, either that or it's the chlorine that did it to us. But yeah,
I never thought of that, of being in the water and then now your audio.
Your senses are very different.
Senses.
You don't smell really anything other than chlorine. Like you don't, it's very, very different.
Yeah.
You're like, most things are kind of cut in that way. You really only have a couple. I mean, you're really in your head. Yeah.
Yeah. I think of that book of, I had a runner on recently named Fred, and he's a great runner. And we talked about the book, What You Think About When You're Running. There must be a book like What You Think About When You're Swimming. That's
wait, but I don't know.
Don't tell anyone.
Oh, yeah,
I'm gonna do it.
Cut that.
You have to write that. What I think about when I'm swimming. Like that's a really fascinating.
That's a great idea.
Because then it gives all those runners and all those swimmers that idea of like, oh, it's just it's something to like hold on to and then think differently about the thing that they're already doing.
And I could interview everyone.
Yeah. Ooh.
Don't tell anyone.
Ooh, no one.
Tell nobody. I'm writing a book.
Caroline the Creative is
Caroline the Creative is writing a creative book.
Yes. We have one thing that is really in common outside of being all in and athletes and creatives for that matter, is that we both love the canine. What's it called? The canine sports sack, I think it's called.
Oh yeah. I carry my dog in that thing
and
on the stairs.
And I have carried my dog in that thing. And I'm curious about if you open to sharing the best adventure you've been on.
Yes.
With your dog, Nova?
Yes. Wait, what kind of dog do you have?
I have a miniature Labradoodle named Ferguson.
How big?
He is 20 pounds.
Okay, so Nova and Ferguson are the same weight.
Exactly.
Okay. She's 22 and a half.
Yeah, Ferg goes up sometimes.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Depending on
the season. He went up to 24, he broke his ACL.
Yeah.
So then we got him down to 20,
Every year I try and get to Durango, Colorado. And I drive over and I take her. Now listen, she's little, okay? When I take her out of the sack or, on the leash in general, there's coyotes, there's lions, there's things going on out there that I don't think she should be a part of. So I don't let her off leash, which is devastating to me because I'm like, look at all this land, like Lion King, like let's go. And she can't. Yeah. Right, she's just like, Mom, this is so hard. But I shove her in that sport sack, and then they have these steps called the sky steps, and there's like, I think 500, maybe more than that, 1,000 or something. Anyway, they go all the way up this mountain. And so I do like several rounds of those.
Ooh, that's fun.
With her in it.
Ooh,
yeah. It's hard. Oh. It's rucking, it's like a 20-pound rucksack. And a little even moving, in the cold. Yeah. But it honestly, it's so nice. I mean, I feel so free when I'm there, and just in that environment, I feel clear. Just fantastic.
Yeah. And you pop up right on your back.
She loves it. She loves it. She's meant to be there. She's a mini Aussie mix. So she's got the Aussie, like, where can I run?
Totally.
Where's the farm? Oh. Where are the sheep?
I got that sack for Ferguson because I knew that if I was named after a mentor, Fergie. My spiritual mentor, Robert Ferguson.
Really?
I was like, he is definitely like, Robert Ferguson is a man of like real service of others. And I was like, my dog's going to be like a service dog, like a service of others. Like he's going to make people happy, I
wanted Nova to do the
service,
same.
Right?
Definitely not.
What's that?
I said I wanted Nova to do the same. And then I realized definitely, no, that's not her. That's not her life goal. I don't think.
I have a bunch of stories that we share off this pod, but once I had him in this canine sack, and while I was riding my bike all throughout New York when I lived there, the wind going through his face, it was like his favorite thing. So I would bring him like in that little sack, like on my bike, of course, like walking, but like on the ferry, on the train, he would just live in that thing.
Does he like
and
to get in it?
And we would go everywhere. He loves it.
He likes to get in
He's like, once he gets in, he's like, I'm home.
But does it take him a second to get in there? Nova doesn't like getting in there.
No, just jumps in.
What?
Yeah. Well, because he knows we're about to go for an adventure.
Yeah, she should know that by now.
Yeah, I know.
She doesn't. She's like, I'm in a straitjacket. I can't get out of here. My mom is kidnapping me.
Oh my God. I wanted to ask, because of your athletic career, I did in my research.
You researched?
My team / me
how crazy I
researched the fact that you're long, and what you said, long and I think long and lanky arms could never do a pull-up. So you would...
This is your Instagram research.
Your research.
I remember this post.
So you started developing a process. I have a dear friend named Kaya Proet, founder of B, I don't know if you know B Wellness.
Yeah, I've heard of that. Yeah.
B Wellness. Yeah, that's her company. She's great. I should connect you guys. You guys would be buddies.
Yeah.
And but that's her life goal, is to be able to do like 5 to 10 pull-ups. And I saw that you struggle with pull-ups, and I was like, okay, you need to give Kaya a tip, and also like anybody else that's struggling with pull-ups.
Yeah, I my entire career, I could not do a single pull-up. Now, it's hit or miss with swimmers. Some can do 20 in a row. One of my best friends, Katie Hoff, can do like 32 or something insane. Meanwhile, I'm doing one. But it's just dependent. I think I don't know what it is, but I mean, my wingspan's like 6 foot something, like, and I'm only 5'10", like, so it's taller than I am, obviously. But yeah, I don't know. I think the hard thing is like, why do we need to get a pull up? Yes, so that you can like do it if you need to.
Yeah.
But that's what I was getting at, is it's like, why? Like asking yourself, like, if it's a personal goal, like what about that makes you feel really strong? And can you just like go in phases to get there? Whether you're like banded and then, inverted rows, and like just counting those small wins to get there, because that's what helped me get a few. When I got a few, I was like, oh, okay, but I didn't just go and straight do pull-ups.
Okay, so you did.
I did the training. Yeah, I did banded stuff like with the band, and then I did the inverted rows, because I just don't have a whole lot of strength in between my scapula and the back. Like, what are those muscles? I should know this. Rhomboids. my lats just take over, and so do my traps, like every single thing that I do.
Yeah.
So those would take over, and I wouldn't be able to really activate those rhomboids so that I could get up and over the bar. So I would say, what can you do to strengthen the pieces that may be weaker in
How
that?
do you activate the
identify
rhomboids? How
it.
do you activate the lats?
Yeah. Like identify the weakness, quote unquote, and then work with that first before you just dive into the deep end of like, hey, I'm going to just jump on the bar and try and figure out this pull up.
Yeah, that's good. So Kea, be a wellness.
We'll connect on pull ups.
Yeah, connect on pull ups.
Yeah.
We do a little pull up.
They're hard. They're really hard. Yeah. I mean, I don't love them, honestly, but I do think it's pretty empowering when you can do one.
Yeah.
Or two.
Of course. Yeah.
Get a few in.
Yeah.
One of these days, I'll be a grandma pumping out 10.
We're going to do pull ups together.
Oh, are we? Okay.
Yeah, we're going to do pull ups together. Yeah.
On the beach. Yeah.
I have a little studio. I like to call it the dojo.
Oh, great. The dojo.
And it's a place where it's no shoes allowed.
Where is it?
And I turned my garage into my office gym.
Yeah.
I call it dojo, a place of practice.
I like that. I like that.
It's cool. It's a cool place to go.
Hermosa?
Move. Yeah, Hermosa. Yeah.
Okay. I used to live Monterey and 6th.
Oh, yeah.
I used to live right there.
Yeah. Let's get that in. That'll be good. In this extensive research I did, I was able to go back.
Peer reviewed.
And I was able to go back and interview the 10-year-old self of you. And what I found fascinating was when I asked the 10-year-old you around, around this idea of like, why do you do what you do? Why do you swim? The 10-year-old self said, for fun, I enjoy the water. And then I said, maybe one day my goals, I'll be able to go to the Olympics, right? But the first part of that really got me. Because the first part of that, even at 10.
Are you talking about my goals sheet?
Yes.
Yeah.
At 10 years old,
yeah,
you write down, for fun, I enjoy the water.
Yeah.
And I'm so curious if that was like, how did a 10-year-old have that sort of like mindset, heart set? Did it continue throughout the career? And then right now, I'm really curious as to like what thing you're doing right now that you do it just for the fun of the fun to get into the quote unquote water. So there's 3 questions. I never like doing that, but
I remember them.
Okay.
I think we'll see, but that's so interesting that you noticed that too, on that goals sheet, because the reason I started swimming was because I enjoyed the water. I felt like it was home for me. And I wasn't like an intense competitor where I just wanted to like beat people and I like to win. I mean, who doesn't? It feels good. But also I liked my friends and I liked the water. And that was really what kept me going. And then throughout my career, it kind of takes on a different meaning. The water becomes a place where you're suffering and you have triumph. So you're in this place that's like amazing and also painful. I mean, you're spending so much time just crying in your goggles and just grinding it out and questioning every life decision as to why I've gotten to this point every single day. Every single day. There's not a day that went by during my career that you don't question. You're just like, oh my God, what am I doing? Because I mean, training for swimming is intense. It's rigorous. It's a lot. And I trained at one of the most endurance forward universities, University of Florida. Like we trained a lot. It was known for that, like how much yardage you could do. So I had a complicated relationship with it then, but I still loved the water. The water was home to me. And then when I retired, I hated the water. I went from 0 to 100 in hatred for the water. And then, well, that's a strong word, but I had gone through so much during my career that was not necessarily good for me, that, just from an emotional perspective, that I was combining it all. So everything was meshing together. And so I would see a pool and I would have that visceral reaction of like, I I can't. Like my friends said, let's go lay out by the pool. I can't. Like I couldn't even put my foot in the water. And that took about 5 years to get used to that again. And I vividly remember going to the London Olympics and watching my brother. He competed in London. And I just remember being like, I am so glad I'm not in the water anymore. Like it was weird. And I had a lot of shame around that. Like I felt like I should be so grateful.
Yeah.
Like, look at this amazing career I had. Like I should be grateful. Like, wow, how like lucky. And I was. And also I viewed it as this painful place for so long. So anyway, I just think that's important context because I just think there's so many people out there that feel like they should like something that they've moved on from, whether it's a sport or I know, a lot of women go through this just in their own lives and babies and postpartum. And, you should be so grateful and so happy, but like, I'm also struggling at the same time. And so it's this conflicting emotion. And so that's okay to have that. And then I finally came around to having a really beautiful experience in the water, just playing. And that took me until, honestly, 2017. So almost 6 years after I retired for me to enjoy the water again and to see it as a place of meditation and peace and freedom. And so anyway, I'm really passionate about that because I think so many people struggle to move on from this identity that they have. And then when they do, it's this feeling of shame around, I should be so happy for this thing that I had, but also I need a freaking break. So how can I have both or how do I do both? Yeah. And the answer is you can. It's acceptance. Back to the acceptance piece. It's acceptance. It's compassion. It's trusting your timeline that it will come around. You don't have to force yourself back into something, but like reframing that experience for yourself.
Yeah. And I imagine that initial transition from, I know I have a dear friend, Daniel Kowalski, who swam for Australia, 1500 meter freestyle.
Ooh.
So brutal, right? Oh.
Daniel, shout out.
I went to one of his competitions. I didn't really know what that meant. And I was just like, oh.
You're still watching this.
We're still watching this. And when he retired, he said he worked for I think it was Texas, swimming team. And he's like, and I basically ate Krispy Kreme. And I think he said, it was Krispy Kreme and what's that other company out here that's closed on Sunday always?
Dunkin'?
The burger spot, Chick-fil-A.
Chick-fil-A.
Yeah, so it was Chick-fil-A. He said, I had Chick-fil-A and Krispy Kreme every day.
Yeah.
And it was just I think gained 10, 20 pounds quick. He's like, but you have to understand, I did this every day. Yeah. And I just was like, oh, I need a break. What was that transition like? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So this I could go on and on. You might have to reel me in here.
Sure.
The transition from sport is really hard. And it's not really hard for everyone. Some people have a different experience with it. But you're essentially addicted to this thing and this identity. And I use that word pretty I want to use it lightly here, but I know that was my experience. The highs, the validation, the identity, the routine, the structure. It was enthralling for me. All of that was so, I needed it to survive. And when I stopped, I just transformed that into something else. And for me, that was not eating. It was finding other ways to control everything because I didn't have that in my life anymore. And so I would go,
I'm sorry, did you say not eating?
Yeah, I didn't eat. I wasn't eating. I was unhealthy. Okay. I was over exercising. I was just in constant seeking for how I can continue to recreate that same feeling.
Yeah.
And because that feeling was such a high for me, even though I said I went through some really big challenges and struggles in my career, I realized like how quickly I was lost without that structure and those highs and the validation of competing and everybody being so proud of you and like, oh my gosh, this is so amazing. And then you go from that to nothing. And you're gone. Like you're done. Like there's nothing else there. You can stay on as alumni and go to some alumni stuff, but I really cut the cord. I was like, I'm out. Like I supported my brother, and then I was really struggling with that. So, I think it can be a challenge when your identity is so wrapped up in receiving love and validation and praise and just feeling all of those, I don't even know another word other than that. Just like, it's enticing and addicting to be in that situation. Like it's a world that wraps you up and swallows you whole, and you're in it. Like you're in it. Your tunnel vision is there. So when you're done, you have to really feel like you can allow yourself to be lost for a little bit and try not to find the next high.
Oh, that's good. Allow yourself to be lost. Wow. It really got me just even hearing you say that.
Well, it's a painful reality, but I also think that, I went through some pretty dark times. And now I feel okay saying this, but I think for so long I was like, what do I have to be depressed about? And I know people like Michael Phelps talk about this a lot. Like, I didn't feel like I could be depressed. Like I had all these medals. But the reality is this has been your whole identity, and everybody has a different relationship to it too. So what could affect one person may not affect another. And so just having compassion for each individual journey. But I went through a really tough time with that. And that lasted a long time for me.
Yeah.
And honestly, I didn't really wake up to any of it until I was injured and concussed. Everything started happening for me about 10 years after I retired.
Got it.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. I'm just hearing you say that, and I think about like your transition from Olympian to being retired. And the challenging thing is like you're so young at that point.
I was 21.
Olympic athletes for sure are so young, and also just generally athletes, whether it's 30, 35, some athletes now 40, 45, Tom Brady, hey. But for the most part, usually between 20 and 30, you're retired, especially Olympic athletes. But also it's like anybody that's, like watching and listening, it's like most people are going through some sort of transition and some sort of new identity. So to hear you say, you have to give yourself some you had to give yourself some permission, or maybe you didn't at the time, but in reflection of it, like giving yourself some time to know that there's going to be some falling down, some failure in there. Like give yourself some space and grace and all that. Yeah.
Yeah. Because, life is a series of transitions. And I really do believe that. Like you're always sort of transitioning in some way. And I didn't think about that when I retired. I thought that I was supposed to have it all figured out right away. And listen, this happens in everything, like you said, whether someone's, changing jobs or retiring from a sport or starting over in some capacity, whatever, you name it. I have several friends that are 12, 13 years sober, and when they talk about that transition, I'm always in awe because it's all so difficult in everyone's own individual way. Like things that they identify with and what people who they identify with, what they identify with, when that's gone so quickly, regardless of if it's for a good reason or not, it completely changes your internal state. You go from being attached to this thing to having to practice the art of non-attachment that you've never done in your life before. You mean I can just float for a second and try and figure this out? I don't need to have it all figured out tomorrow. I don't need to be wrestling with the fact that I'm not this person anymore. Like, it's okay that I'm here. Like, that would have really helped me, I think. But also, no one can prepare you for that.
Mm-hmm.
They can give you all the tools in the world and sit down with you and tell you everything that could happen and ways to transition from something. But only you can go through that experience.
Yeah.
And like I said, everyone's is different. My brother's was very different than mine, and we both achieved the exact same thing, but it's so interesting to just reflect on that piece of it, knowing that no one could have prepared me. They could have talked to me till I was blue in the face, but I have to go through it. I have to go through it, go through the valleys, go through the darkness, be lost, and work my way through that. And that's what makes you so great as you grow are those experiences. Yeah. You can't just shield people from this stuff, So I get very passionate about this topic.
Yeah. Thank you for thank you for just your transparency and honesty. And just even in this conversation.
And I didn't even share half of it. But
sure. No, there's so much. I can tell that, but I can tell like there's so much more. And and I can also just I just know all the work you've also done, like the inner work that you've done throughout the process and that.
And it doesn't end.
It doesn't,
but there's beauty in that.
Yeah.
And I think that I've always thought there's an ending to it all. Mm-hmm. Oh, you just check the box and you figure it out one day, Yeah. But I think acceptance again of okay, I may always be trying to figure out what's the boundary here. What's the balance between striving and just being? Yeah. That's my $1 million question every day. Yeah. And I was watching a reel the other day, and this is connected to this, but it's a little bit different. But it was there's this new account called Nature Words in Nature. Anyway, this guy's interviewing people in nature.
Yes.
And they sit down in nature and they have a podcast. And this guy said, "The more I heal, the less ambitious I become." And he's like a great musician. And he was like, "Tell me more about that." And he was like, "The more that I heal, the less that I need to do things just to feel great for doing it. The more I want to intentionally do things and make intentional decisions and less for the validation from everybody else and the clout and the be big. Doesn't mean I don't want it. Yeah. It just means that I have more acceptance around the process of it, So I thought it was really cool. I actually started crying watching it. I was like, that is so me. That is so real.
You started crying. Why though? Why
that I mean, his account's got 1,000 followers as of now. That thing went viral. It was 30K views because everybody relates to this.
Yeah.
Everybody, and I don't care about view. This is me talking about views. What I'm saying is it went up that high, but he spoke
what that hit for you? Yeah.
Just that, I'm not alone.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I'm looking at how many people are commenting on this, oh my God, I relate to this. And I'm seeing the shared humanity of the world is so competitive now. You can see anyone creating anything in the blink of an eye. You Google what you want to Google, it's there. You have a question about, do goldfish wear shoes? And it's somewhere on the internet.
That's right.
Right? So there's something for everything, which also means that everyone's comparing themselves to everyone else. And there's a lot out there that is difficult for people. Some days I'm like, I got to get off social media for a week. I can't, because I'm over here in the comparison game. And it's very real. And so it just goes back to the piece about how can you strive and really want to do great things and also be okay being sometimes. You don't need to be always achieving in order to be great. There's going to be seasons where you don't achieve a single thing. I mean, the artists talk about this all the time. There's seasons where I don't make a single piece of art. And I've been 2 years without making art before. And I just read books on art or write and journal. It's just different. It takes a different path. You don't have to always be output in order to feel validated.
That kind of cultivation of.
Period. I'm done talking.
No, I don't want you to be. I want to I just one thing leads to the next. I'm like, hold on, Caroline.
I know. I go. I'm sorry.
I like to call this a mentor of mine gifted me something when I was 20, and I've shared this many a times on the show. My Uncle Joe gifted me this concept of find your center. And he told me that no matter what, and even at 21 was like, the only thing that really matters in life is finding your center. And I saw a quote from you that was striving is the greatest, so is thriving right where your feet are, which I would just call like find your center. I'm curious, like right now, how do you find your center? Or right now, how do you thrive right where your feet are?
It's interesting because I think back to when I posted that, and I remember being aspirational in that. I wanted to be there. Like that was what I was wanting to be.
Manifestation moment.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like it was a reminder to myself.
Yeah.
And it's interesting now because I'm in a place where I've had the same path. I was telling you this before the podcast. I've had the same path for a really long time up until 2.5 years ago, when we decided to, like, we had a company, Rise Athletes, that mentored. We had 50 plus coaches mentoring youth athletes from all over the world. We had that for almost 9 years. And we decided to hang up our hats on that. And we could have kept it going. We were doing great. Rev and I were ready. We were just ready. We had talks about it for a year. We're just ready for different parts of our lives, different chapters. And ever since that moment, I've been in that place of, okay, what's next? And one of my mentors told me, Jack Roach, he's an amazing man, during this time, he was like, can you take some time off? Can you afford to take some time off? And I was like, I can take a little time off right now. He was like, do it. And it was the first time in my life that I did that. And it was the most uncomfortable year I have ever had. More than whatever went on in the swimming world, whatever was going on after swimming, the depression, worse than any breakup, whatever it is. I was so uncomfortable sitting still. And to the point where I got so tired that I didn't want to do anything, because you're so tired all of a sudden. You're like, oh my God, I've just given my whole life to this thing. I've been in sports since I was 8. And so that really taught me to be where my feet are and to just be. And it took me about 6 months to settle into that. And now that I'm, still exploring really what I want to do and where I want to go. And I work with a great company now and I'm doing my art, but it's also a constant reminder to be where my feet are, which means to just pause in the little moments. I don't need to have some grandiose, like, this is what this means to me. It's in the small moments for me. That was a big moment that year. And I know it's hard to take a year off. And I was fortunate enough to where that was a time in my life where I made that happen. Keep in mind, I hadn't had more than 2 weeks off since I was 8. So
that's right.
I
was wondering, what else have you had some time off,
I was ready for it, but I don't have children. Like I'm not, I was fortunate enough to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And so I took it, but I felt a lot of guilt, there was a lot of weirdness around that. But I think it taught me a lot about being present and staying in the process and in the moment, even when it's uncomfortable and you're not achieving something great. When I wasn't achieving anything, that was when it was the hardest for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Being in that space.
When I had absolutely nothing going on was the hardest time of my life for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially when it's like, so what's up? You always get that question, what's new? And you have to go,
what do you do?
Nothing's new. It's actually, and that lends me to everything you've done or doing and will do. You have a thread of, I did an episode that actually I didn't release yet, but I will. It's called, it's like off of that whole 75 hard. It was like, you could do 75 hard or you could do 365 consistent.
Right.
And it was like, let's do 305 consistent. And I try to obviously ingrain that into the clients that I coach. And I think about for you, you had to do that with swimming. I imagine you're finding sort of the through lines between that. For people that are trying to be consistent in life, what do you tell them?
It's funny you say the 75 hard and 365 consistent, because there's schools of thought out there, that are like, go hard or go home, like never quit, never. And yes, to an extent, for sure. I mean, I've had that chapter of my life too, but I think consistency is longevity. It's the long game. And if you look at it like you're depositing a little bit into your account every day, whatever it is that you're doing, I think that gives the motivation and the internal drive to keep going. And also, when to push it. Like, when that threshold, okay, I need to go hard for a couple weeks here. Yeah. I'm going to go all in to whatever I'm doing, and buffering time before and after to where you can just be, if you can, even if it's a day. But like, I think people can really try to focus in on how to create that kind of situation for themselves, where you can buffer in the time to just be, if you are going to go hard. And if you're going to stay consistent, and really deposit that every day and take the small wins.
You say like go hard, right? I think about the, especially as an Olympic, like kind of what you do is then recognized, and you're like up on you get to stand up on a platform, receive a medal, right? But in that, there's a lot of things that you've done sort of behind the scenes. I often refer to my clients and I say like what you do in the darkness defines you, and that might be just reaching for the donuts at night when everybody's asleep. That might be something that you do that actually breeds guilt, at night in the darkness, and you don't feel like you're being in integrity with yourself, whatever those things may be. A simple one is just, reaching for ice cream every single night, forever. And then talking to me about why you can't lose the weight or feel like you're in the best shape of your life. Right. Yeah. Or get back home. I'm curious. I want to ask you I sort of want to hear from, what's the hard thing that you did that no one saw?
When?
In the past, whenever that may be, doesn't matter.
I would say, and this is deeply personal, so I'll give it like a brush over so I don't go too deep into it, but I would say overcoming abuse. That definitely was the hardest thing that I've ever done. Yeah. But, I think at the same time, the work that I've done since then has been wildly eye-opening as to just how everyone is doing the best they can in their current state. And it's allowed me to really have compassion and understanding for all of that, which is crazy. I never thought I'd get there, but I do. I used to have so much anger. So I guess I could answer it maybe differently and not as specifically if I say learning how to work with my anger was for sure the hardest thing that I've ever done.
Yeah.
Tapping into the wisdom of my body. Where am I holding it? Like, I did not want to look at that.
Yeah.
I did not want to look at painful things or painful times. Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Yeah. I would rather avoid, those things. And I did. I avoided, like I said, after my career, I ran myself into the ground. Yeah. But the hardest thing I had to do was stop and look at that.
I remember a time for myself where everybody called me Coach Adam Cobb, and I was in this building in Brooklyn, and everybody knew me, and I moved a lot of clients into the building, and everybody said, Coach, Coach, Coach. I traveled to Australia, and everybody called me Coach. Everywhere I went was Coach.
Yeah.
And Coach had, for me, and for them, had a certain sort of big smile, bigness, personality, always positive. And then I tore my ACL meniscus dunking a basketball in Australia, about to give a keynote. And I still gave the keynote. It was on mindset and performance and stuff. And I was on crutches. I didn't know what happened. So I was all in worry. And then I rehabbed and had the surgery. I went back to that same building. And I remember everybody was like, Coach, Coach. And I was like, I did therapy. I did a lot of different 9 months of like real soul searching and therapy and different things like that. And I was different. There was an identity shift into, I don't always have to be the happy, golden or Labrador happy puppy all the time.
Right.
I can actually say, hey, I'm having a hard day right now. It was hard for me, but I found myself in those environments And I would sort of default back in because that's what the environment was the same. And I imagine like,
oh yeah,
as you shifted, that you would fall back into what people would expect or things like that. I imagine it must have been hard to like, keep reiterating like, this is who I am now.
Right.
Or this is who I want to step into.
This is why pattern work is so powerful. Like becoming aware of what patterns you have in your life and how they run your life. There's a quote I also saw, I don't know how long ago this was, but it was, show me how you avoid, I think this is it. Do not quote me here, but show me how you avoid stillness and I'll show you the patterns that are running your life. And I was like, "Ooh." I was like, whoa. And I think this was right when I got back from Hoffman. So of course my phone's listening to me on the word patterns, but understanding like, okay, is one of my patterns that I just need to be super happy and amazing so that everybody thinks I'm fine and that everything is perfect and I have no worries and there's no way I could possibly have anything wrong with me. Smile.
Yeah.
And that's a way of, essentially you're kind of controlling how other people see you so that they have the right view of you so that then you feel loved. And so you kind of go down that pattern, you go down the list of the pattern. It's like, this happens because of this so that I feel this. And then all of a sudden it makes sense, but it's very easy to fall back into them. And people pleasing is a big one, right? People pleasing is a huge one. Like if I can just make everybody happy, then everything's great. And that's the easiest. I mean, think about it. Your body, your cells are conditioned for so long to do a certain thing. To no one's fault. I mean, everyone has different upbringings and backgrounds and situations in their lives that cause these things. Yes, which creates the patterns, but only you're ultimately responsible to change them. And that was a huge realization for me as well. Like a couple of years ago, like, oh, no one's going to save me.
Was there a moment that, do you remember a moment, maybe an interaction with a human being where you literally were like trying on this new pattern, new identity, and you had to sort of like lean into it a little bit more?
Yeah. I think one of my greatest teachers was a relationship that I had during COVID time, like several years ago, just learning that, that those patterns run. I think honestly, learning from partners is amazing. Like, and learning from family members, like, whomever you can like have conversations with, because all of our stuff comes online when we're vulnerable as humans, right? Which means all of your patterns show up when all of a sudden the walls come down, right? We want to put them back up.
Yeah.
So, when you get into a relationship and all of a sudden, honeymoon phase is over and you have to start trusting or start leaning in, it's like, no, I'm going to be avoidant, or I'm going to start doing this, or I'm just going to please you and not have any needs, or, like you kind of do all the things that you've done forever to stay safe, or, and that's when the real work begins.
Yeah.
Is absolutely. When you can look at that and have somebody say, hey, this is what's happening. You got to have a shared language about it. You got to have shared language, and you've got to have like a good stream of communication to where you can look at each other's shit, for lack of a better term, and have a conversation about it and really get real with that. Because I think that's the greatest teacher you can have, is someone that's a mirror to you, if that makes sense. So, and a lot of friendships have been that for me too. And my brother and I have learned a lot from each other in our patterns. So I think it's just choosing. You got to choose what you want to look at and how you want to move forward, changing that. Otherwise you're going to live in that victim place your whole life, that someone will save you. And, so whether it's one moment or a string of moments, they're important to pay attention to.
I have an idea.
Let's hear it.
I have an idea for us moving forward.
Let's talk about our patterns.
About a pattern, sort of an activity that we could do that would really just shift the pattern there. I did some artist work with a man named Jean-Louis Rodrigue. And
it's a great artist name.
Right? It's
great artist name. Yeah.
He's one of the most...
I want to meet you.
Yeah. He's like the top Alexander teacher around movement.
Yeah.
And also some voice and stuff. And one of the things he found in me was like, he said to me, I love your enthusiasm for life. And he goes, but isn't it tiring showing up to every coffee shop and every new introduction as a like happy Labrador dog, that happy Labrador dog thing.
What'd you say?
And I was like, oh, I started to crush my soul when I heard that, because I was like, oh, I didn't realize I was doing that all the time. So he said, and we were working on some Shakespeare stuff. So he said, next coffee shop you go into, my homework for you is to show up in that coffee shop as Henry V, the king with the crown on, you know? And then next time I want you to show up as a detective. And the third time I want you to show up as a killer. And I want you to see, what does that look like? You know, don't do any crazy stuff, but like show up at that coffee shop.
Don't actually act on those things.
Right? Show up as a coffee shop and have that state and see what it does. And what it did for me was it actually dropped me from, hey, Caroline, how are you doing? To, hey, Caroline, how are you doing? And I felt, oh my God, I'm feeling like my voice is even coming from here and not just here. And I felt less of like, and because he said, I imagine it's exhausting to have to walk into a room all the time. And I didn't even realize that I was doing it.
So it's like reverse acting almost.
It was reverse. It was like, give yourself permission to just be where you are and let go. And it's okay to just drop in. So my activity and exercise for us is we're going to go to a coffee shop. We're going to wear all black. Clearly, we already got the memo.
I don't know if you guys noticed, but do a quick span of this situation.
We're going to wear all black, and we're not going to show up as like puppies. We're going to show up as like a little more like here.
Yep.
Okay?
I'm down.
We're not going to people please. We're going to order our coffees. We're going to sit down. We can do whatever we want after that. But just the initial
observe how people,
we're not going to people please. We're all black, and we're going to be a little moody, you know, and just a little expressive, like an art form. But we do that in public. How does that sound?
I'm down.
I think it's a cool activity for you and I to actually break a little bit of even deeper breaking in that pattern.
Yeah. It's a tough one.
It's a tough one.
It is a tough one, and I would say that a lot of people listening probably feel that too with people pleasing.
Yeah,
it's one of the hardest, but we adopt it so that we can stay safe. Like when I was told that, it was blowing my mind. I was like, oh, safe and safety is like emotional safety or feeling like you're not ruffling feathers or bursting the bubble so that everyone, you know, it's agreeable. You're agreeable. Everyone approves of you and you feel safe and loved. Yeah. And in reality, the craziest thing I heard about people pleasing was you're actually manipulating people. And I was like, wait, who, me? What?
Not me.
I am not that person. But when I learned that, I realized, that's what it is.
Exactly.
You're not doing it on purpose. You're doing it because you're trying to feel safe and loved and supported. But really, you're organizing other people's views of you.
Yeah.
It was wild. That blew my mind. I was like, say it ain't so.
Yeah.
But it's a healthy thing to look at within yourself. And I have a couple friends that are just absolutely not people pleasers at all. And I'm always like, do it. How do you do it? You know, and they don't even know. They're like, I don't.
The ultimate non-people pleaser would be
tell me.
My father-in-law, Michael, and my friend Max's dad.
Just says what they want.
Or
they don't care.
Larry David.
Larry David. Actually, who did
I want to grow. That's how I aspire to be. How about you?
Listen, when I meet people that are not and that do not care, actually, this is interesting. So at Finding Mastery with what I do for work, we have something that we teach called building your personal philosophy and crafting your purpose, which is like part of the curriculum. And within that, there's question on, there's a ton of questions, but one of them is specifically, who do you admire? What people do you admire and why? And I actually don't have a whole lot, like I'm not an idolizer. Like I don't look at people and I'm like, oh my God, like I want that, whatever they have. I don't have that. Like I really don't. And I have people that I think are awesome. But every single time I do it, it's always people that do not care what other people think of them. And it's not even like that. They're not even that influential. It's just people that don't care. And it's the common thread where they just are who they are. And it's so inspiring to me because I strive to really have that, not in a selfish way or in a rude way, but just a convicted way of this is who I am and that's okay.
Yeah.
And if you don't like it, I can't change that. I'm not going to be rude to you. They're never rude, they're just convicted in who they are. And you can feel that, you know, and it doesn't make me need to be anyone for them. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, the word conviction is the word that stands out that you just said.
Yeah.
And when I think of those people, the conviction piece is the thing. And same thing back to what you said, Jean-Louis said that component around the puppy dog showing up. He said, there is a manipulative, people-pleasing element to that. And I was like shocked. I am of service. Right. I love people. I lead with curiosity.
Right.
And it was like, it's an approval thing. Like, what if you let that go? And I imagine that, there's been a few moments.
So what if you let that go? Then what? That's a question to consider. So I do that a lot. Like, okay, well, what if I don't do that? Or what if I'm not a people pleaser? Or what if I don't run away every time I'm uncomfortable and whatever? So, well, then what? And then doing that experiment in your brain and realizing it's really not that bad. It's not as bad as
alive.
I'm here. Like there's nothing that crazy that happened. How
many friends can I really have? In life. Like,
well, and one of the things that always comes up is, okay, well, if I'm not a people pleaser, then people will be mad at me.
Sure.
And then you go further and you think, okay, people are mad at me. Are they really mad at me? Is this fact? Have you asked them that? Have you had a conversation, or is this made up in your mind? 99% of the time it's made up in your mind. And if it's not, hopefully people are mature enough to have a conversation about it. And then that's pretty much the end of the road. So it doesn't have to, I think we go in these snowballs in our brains. Like, if I don't make everyone happy, then the world's ending. And the reality is, no, it's not.
Yeah.
You've made up the storyline.
It's so good. Let's make sure we cut that clip right there. Okay, I gotta go rapid fire because we gotta close.
I know. Sorry, I could talk for 7 hours. How long have we been talking? Oh my god.
It's been over an hour.
Be a goldfish. Okay.
It's over an hour. Be a goldfish. We gotta wrap this up. I'm going rapid fire. Maybe one or two.
These are hard for me.
Responses.
Admittedly.
This is gonna be hard. This is gonna be the hardest part.
Oh god.
I asked you the hard thing you do that no one will ever know in the past. Now I want to know the hard thing you're doing right now that no one will know up until now.
Stop comparing myself to other people's journeys. That is really freaking hard for me. Yeah. Forgiving myself for, and with that is forgiving myself for, I never went down bad roads, but I went down roads to follow my patterns that I maybe couldn't have gone on, but they molded who I am.
That's beautiful. Yeah.
Hard.
Understanding.
Really hard. Really hard. Yeah. And, I could go deeper and actually talk about really hard specific things, but I'm going to say that because that's the most emotionally tied thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's more of a blanket thing that kind of hovers over my life at the moment.
That's the thing you're doing now. What do you foresee yourself doing in the future that will be hard? That you probably know, it's not going to be a public platform moment, but you see yourself probably having to do. Usually we know. We know that thing we got to do.
That's a hard question, but I'm going to say, you know what? I'm going to go with my gut again. And I think it's still comparing myself to other people's journeys. And the reason I say this, and I say this twice, is because I turned 39 in a couple months, and being a 39-year-old woman, single, no kids, in a world where that's really what everyone is doing is really hard. And it's not hard in a way that's like, oh, I don't have jealous bones. I don't care. That's actually a gift of mine that I have, but it's this longing that I'm afraid, it's fear of in the future being so behind everyone else. So I think it's just, again, attacking that chapter with a acceptance and compassion. But I think it's not talked about enough. And so that's why I'm saying that for anyone out there that feels this way. I could go into a whole nother hour of that, but
I want to.
But I've had a whole 9 lives before this, so I need to also see that that's a part of my journey. So I'm just accepting that. But I think in the future that can come up for me, especially if I try and have children or things like that.
Yeah. Okay. Last question.
Okay.
Promise. Last close.
Let's hear it.
Okay.
Because the kids are playing basketball upstairs.
Honestly, there's nothing better than hearing.
I love it.
It's one of
I love it.
my
I'm
refuges.
so happy.
Is hearing that. I literally puts me. It almost puts me in my happy place.
I'm like zenned out. Let's just keep going.
Yeah.
Okay.
Keep going. There is a precision to swimming. There is a creative expansion and expression with art, and I'm wondering how what's the through line of those things? Because right now you are full blown. I've looked at your pieces, at least online. I can't wait to go to an art show of yours in the future and bring a bunch of friends that love art too, and just geek out on it. But there are like certain even aspects of the brain that we have to turn on and turn off. And I know for me, as I dip my toe into the artist creative self, I remember doing some of this Shakespeare, and I was waking up at a certain time in the morning, 4 a.m., and I was like reading my Shakespeare, St. Crispian, and I was like, oh, I just can't get it in there. And one of my dear artist friends, who's a celebrated artist and actor, was like, get a glass of wine, go to the ocean, and do your St. Crispian speech. And I was like, oh, and I did that, and it unlocked everything.
Cool. Because
the rigidity that I was bringing to sort of sport of like wake up and coaching and do this did not apply. I had to shift into a different space of freedom, expansion, expression. And that was my personal thing. I'm so curious as to what's yours right now.
Swimming was my art.
Yeah.
And I think I've realized that more and more as I've gotten older. And when I started sketching forms, I went to fashion school, fun fact. After I was done swimming in my many journeys.
You're so cool.
I was like, what am I doing? I'm at FITM in downtown LA. I loved it, but so cool. We had to draw these perfect forms. And they were, the 9 heads models where, their legs are Barbie legs and everything was perfect. And I remember being like, I don't want to draw that. I want to draw abstract. I want to get wild with these forms. And so that's what I started to do. And so I feel like with my art, it's a way for me to connect with my body, just like swimming was a way for me to connect with my body. And I may not draw forms forever. I'm dabbling in other things, but it really helps me. And there's a quote that I'll send you after this podcast, but it's from one of my favorite books, and Eastern Body, Western Mind. And it's about how drawing the body helps you heal your body. And so I started drawing the body in 2020.
Beautiful.
When I was concussed and heavily concussed and having a lot of trouble, I started drawing again and sketching again. And that's what helped me heal my body. And I firmly believe that. It helped me get back into flow. It's my flow. It's fluidity. It's ease. It's expansiveness. It's imperfection. And those are things that I continue to work on every day.
I want to explore the topics of anger, of trust, okay, of
mini series coming up,
of so many more topics. So what I want to do is I want to ask, and I really just want to hear a yes or a yes. If you are willing to do this, but tackle these topics in a different format, which is going to be more of a outdoor nature,
great,
sort of venue, it would be really different. And for the viewers and stuff, be like, whoa, what's happening? But I want to dive into these topics, and it's going to be sort of this concept of, I like to call it pull, prayer, and plunge. And we might be pulling a very heavy tire together.
Down.
we might be sitting and grounding.
Mm-hmm.
And then we might
Down.
be plunging, which is sort of perfect for you because now
Down.
you love the water again.
Yes.
Right? Amen.
Yeah.
And okay, so
Yeah,
you're in?
I'm in.
Okay.
Let's
All
do
right.
it.
That's cool. So we'll do a part 2 to this because this is just way too good. And I just have so many more
I could just keep
questions.
going on and on.
And I'm
just
you to
getting
keep
started.
going. I feel like we're just warming up and it's all this light is coming through.
And
This
it's
is
the
what
light, but
happens.
these nature ones will be outdoors. So
The
that'll
nature
be
ones will
expansive
outdoors.
thinking.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
For saying
I
yes.
appreciate it. Yeah.
God, I've loved this so much.
Yeah.
And I know
Likewise.
people are going to be encouraged. I think there's going to be some shifts in their patterns. I believe that just you sharing parts of your story, because I know there's a lot more, I know is going to bring people back to their body and their home. And maybe they'll be able to be
a goldfish.
A goldfish.
And listen, this is the last thing I'll say.
Please.
Is that this is a fire hose of things, of course, but we can listen to all the podcasts in the world. We can read all the books. We can watch all the, reels or whatever, self-help, anything. And what matters most is that you choose to take what works for you and what resonates with you and go for it.
Yeah.
Because it can be overwhelming and in the great way, right? But where do I start? Where do I start? At least sometimes I feel that way. So for anyone listening, start where you want to start and just do it. Just go with what resonates with you and do it.
Thank you. Start where you want to start. Just do it. And as my mom would always leave the house when I was a kid, before she shut the door, she'd say, "Hey son, go out there and make a difference." So I just turn it over to you and say, go out there, make a difference in whichever way you can. Closing out. Thank you so much.